Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The rain pounded softly on the windows of the house. I turned the key in the lock I'd opened 1,000 times before. It wouldn't turn. At first, I thought I was just shaking too much. My fingers trembled as I tried again, willing the deadbolt to turn like it always had. But it didn't. The lock had been changed. I stared at the door of the house I had called home for 7 years, the one Cooper and I poured our lives into. Just 2 weeks ago, I buried him. My heart was still raw from the funeral, still echoing with condolences that felt more like apologies. I had come back, suitcase in hand, expecting silence. Instead, I found exile. My pulse quickened. The door swung open, but not because of me. Standing there in Cooper's old bathrobe, her lips curled into a satisfied smirk, was Rebecca, my late husband's mother. "You shouldn't be here," she said calmly, brushing a crumb from her sleeve. "What? What are you talking about?" I stammered. "This is my home." "No," she replied flatly, stepping into the doorway to block me. "It was Cooper's, and Cooper is gone." I stared at her, stunned, as a woman stepped in behind her. Nancy, Cooper's sister. Her arms were crossed, eyes cold, like I was a stray dog scratching at the glass. "You changed the locks?" My voice cracked. Rebecca sighed. "You don't live here anymore, Evelyn. You're nobody now." I blinked, trying to process the surreal cruelty of it all. "You know I paid the mortgage. When Cooper's startup failed, I kept this place running. I bought the groceries, fixed the water heater when it broke in January." "That was charity, dear," Rebecca interrupted, mock sweet. "Don't confuse convenience with ownership." Her words struck harder than the rain that began to fall in earnest around me. My shoes were soaked, my suitcase was wet, and yet I couldn't move. "Please," I whispered, my throat tightening. "This is all I have left of him." Rebecca tilted her head. "Then you have nothing." She closed the door. The click of the deadbolt was deafening. I stood there until my hands went numb. Then, trembling, I pulled out my phone and called my only remaining refuge, a worn-down motel on the edge of town. As the taxi pulled away from the house that no longer welcomed me, I watched the upstairs lights flick on, Rebecca's silhouette moving casually through my bedroom. I didn't cry, not yet. Instead, a strange stillness settled over me, something sharper than grief. If they thought I would disappear quietly, they had no idea who I had become. The motel room buzzed with the steady hum of the heater, its glow no match for the chill spreading in my chest. I sat cross-legged on the bed, staring at a worn shoebox on my lap. Inside were receipts, faded, crumpled, time-stamped proof of everything Rebecca had chosen to forget. Gas bills, grocery lists, mortgage statements, years of quiet sacrifices disguised as routine. Back when Cooper's startup collapsed and he returned home broken and ashamed, I didn't complain. I canceled my art subscription, took on double shifts at the clinic, paid the mortgage in full 3 months straight while he sat at the window, unsure if he even deserved to breathe. He never told his mother, and I never corrected the lie. Rebecca visited us twice that year, always unannounced, always bringing wine too expensive for our fridge. "Still here, Evelyn?" she asked sweetly, her perfume clouding the air. "You're such a constant." I'd smile and hand her the guest towels. No one knew the plumbing had burst 2 nights before or that I'd maxed out my card to fix it before her arrival. Why didn't I make him put my name on the deed? I muttered aloud, rubbing my temples. Then I remembered. One night, 3 winters ago, I came home to find Cooper on the porch holding an envelope and shaking. "I've been a fool," he said. "Sign this. Please, it's a postnup. It gives you half of everything. I should have done it years ago." He was crying when he made me sign it. Not out of fear, out of love. I never thought I'd need it. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. "Do yourself a favor and leave town. The house isn't yours. It never was." My hand tightened around the phone. The heater groaned louder, as if mimicking my anger. I scrolled past her message and opened my email. Attached to my name was the scanned copy of that same postnup, signed, notarized, and valid. And it was time I reminded her that I wasn't just some ghost in black. It was 2:14 a.m. when I slipped through the side gate behind a house I once called home. The porch lights were off, but Rebecca's new curtains glowed faintly upstairs. Good, she was asleep or pretending to be. I crept through the garden Cooper and I planted, now overgrown, the rosemary strangled by weeds, and found the small basement window he never bothered to latch. I slipped inside. The air was thick with dust, but my feet remembered every creak of the hallway. I didn't hesitate. His office door was untouched. Cooper's chair still faced the window. His heavy leather-bound planner sat on the desk, right where he always kept it. My fingers trembled as I opened the bottom drawer. And there it was, the postnuptial agreement. The original, signed by Cooper, stamped, legal. I blinked rapidly, swallowing hard. "You really did protect me," I whispered. A soft click made my breath catch. Nancy stood in the doorway, barefoot in silk pajamas, arms folded. "Thought I heard a rat," she smirked. "Guess I was right." I held up the document like a blade. "You might want to tell your mother to lawyer up." Nancy's smile faltered. "You're bluffing." "Try me." She stared at the paper, then stepped back into the shadows. "I'll see you in court," I said, locking the door behind me. Outside, the wind had picked up, but for the first time since Cooper died, I didn't feel cold. The trial felt less like a courtroom and more like a battlefield dressed in marble and whispers. Rebecca had waged war not just on me, but on Cooper's memory. She filed motions claiming he'd been mentally unstable during the signing of the postnup. She twisted old conversations, manipulated his colleagues to cast doubt, and even planted fabricated evidence that I coerced him when he was weak. But she didn't stop there. I discovered through my attorney's discreet digging that she had stolen Cooper's private medical records, doctored them, and submitted forged reports to the court. The final blow came when a disgraced therapist, suddenly reappearing from Cooper's past, declared under oath that Cooper had been delusional for years. I knew then Rebecca had bribed him. I was heartbroken, but not broken. In the depths of Cooper's locked file cabinet, I found the truth he must have sensed I'd one day need. A signed neurological report dated just before the postnup, confirming he was of sound mind. Then came more. A flash drive of security footage, Rebecca herself breaking into our home week after his funeral. And when the detective I hired confronted the so-called therapist, the man crumbled. Afraid of prison, he confessed everything on record. The day I took the stand, I felt Cooper beside me. I handed the judge every document, every timestamp, every lie. Whispers rippled through the courtroom. "This isn't about money," I said, my voice steady. "It's about truth. You tried to erase your son to win a battle he never invited you to." Rebecca lunged at me then, a scream ripping from her throat. Her fist struck air in fury. Court officers restrained her as cameras flashed. She cursed me through gritted teeth. It was all televised. All of it. The judge halted the proceedings, ruling in my favor. The property was mine. But more than that, the court ordered criminal charges against Rebecca. Perjury, forgery, fraud. She was arrested on the courthouse steps, swarmed by journalists. Weeks later, she was sentenced to prison. Her empire of lies crumbled. Even her allies vanished. Nancy fled the state, under investigation for witness intimidation. And I, for the first time in months, exhaled. It took months to reclaim the house. But today, the silence sang of peace. Where Rebecca once stormed, rosemary now bloomed, its scent thick in the morning air. I dug into the soil behind the porch, planting the last tray of marigolds. Beneath each, a small stone etched with a name. Cooper's childhood dog, our neighbor's late wife, even the name of the nurse who once held his hand in chemo. A garden of remembrance, not revenge. Callie, my lawyer-turned-friend, appeared at the gate holding a letter. "From prison," she said. "Rebecca." I opened it slowly. Lines of venom spilled out. How I'd stolen everything, how Cooper would have been ashamed. The handwriting shook with hatred. I carried it to the fire pit, struck a match, and fed the letter to the flames. "This," I whispered, watching the ash swirl skyward, "is where it ends." Behind me, children's laughter rose. Visitors to the new grief recovery center we built in Cooper's name. I turned toward them, heart steady. The past was buried, and something better had taken root.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.